Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker and we are here to look at some teas to give them a try out. Today we've got a Taiwanese DongDing that we're going to be looking at, so let's go ahead and jump in, get it started. I've got the usual suspects here, the Gaiwan. I've got my tea, my kettles, my water's been boiling. Oh, and it's been cooling for less than a minute now. And one thing you may be noticing as I'm getting this out is package within a package. That's I find more often common with oolongs in particular, because they're often vacuum sealed more often than other kinds of teas. So I've got a spoon here and I'm dropping in enough to really kind of cover the bottom, say, inch to inch and a half diameter of this about 4-ounce size Gaiwan. And with a oolong like this, with a lot of ball type of oolongs, the leaves are going to expand quite a bit. So this is going to give us plenty. Now, if you were doing a even a traditional Gaiwan, you might fill up traditional steeping. You might even fill up 25%, a quarter of the total volume of the Gaiwan with dry leaf. But this will give us enough for a pretty standard type steeping here. So I'm going to set that aside and talk a little bit about this tea. This is from Rishi Teas. This is their DongDing oolong. You can find 50-gram size available for $13. It is let me say, where does it come from? And there's two parts to this story. And then this can happen frequently with oolongs. It's finished, or it's semi-finished here in the Alishan area, and this can happen when a farmer / producer is stronger in the growing aspect than, say, the processing aspect, and so they'll do the first part themselves, and then they'll take it over to someone else who will roast it, who's more expert in the roasting aspect, and who will finish the tea itself. And so this one was started semi-finished in Alishan, and then roasted in Ningjian village in Nantou in Taiwan. So a little bit of a travel log for this tea. It is the Qingxin varietal, a very common varietal, and this one was harvested mid-April of 2010. Okay, some people have noted and commented that 2010 was not the peak season, as far as seasons go for Taiwanese oolongs. Let's go ahead, and that was due to frosts and cold weather that happened early in 2010. So let's and with weather patterns as they're showing in 2011, who knows if we're going to get something better or worse yet? It's still to be determined. It's all about how that frost hits. Okay, so let's give this dry leaf a shot here. Now, get a little bit of a kind of a woodsy type note. There's a little bit of English laurel there, combined with I'm getting there's a little bit of a arbequina olive oil type smell, and that's lighter and that's more in the background, but it is there. It doesn't have as much of the graham cracker sweetness that can come out in either within the leaf or in some of the roasting processes. So as compared to other DongDings, not as much of the sweetness coming off yet. Let's see what happens in the wet leaf and the liquor now. But before that, I do want to take a peek at the dry leaf here. You do get a pretty consistent olive drab type of color, moving a little bit over towards the little bit of a grayish tone there. Something I did note, and you may get one of these. Oftentimes I get these with Rishi teas in order to reduce the amount of moisture present. They will often provide, or actually this one says it's an oxygen absorber. Again, that's another aspect of talking about keeping especially oolongs away from oxygen. They tend to last longer that way, stay fresher. Looking at this leaf, though, talking about looks like sets or pairs of leaves rolled together into balls. A little bit of a sheen there. It's not a highly glossy type note, but it's not dull or flat by any means. So this is kind of in the middle. It is in the acceptable parameters, so to speak. And let's go ahead now. We talked about that color. It's a little bit of a grayish color, and that's a note of the probably result mostly of the firing technique, the firing process that takes place. Okay, so let's go ahead. Like I said, keep the oxygen out of there as much as possible. Let's give this tea a steep, or let's pour it out and have a look at the wet leaf. Angle the lid over a little bit, pushing your leaves away from that. Middle finger and thumb and ring finger can help kind of hold that edge there. Index finger holding that lid firmly in place. So I've just strained all that tea off. Useful kind of show if you are steeping for more than one person. A nice picture like this is great for if you're serving more than one person or serving into more than one cup. I'm going to take this away too quickly, though. Let's go ahead and talk about this wet leaf and really get into some of that note as well. One more time. Had to get another one. I really like there's some sweet wood type notes, almost bordering on kind of like a cedar, but not quite. It's in that cedar sandalwood type area. There's something kind of sweet, something kind of woody about this, which is quite pleasant. Lighter on any kind of floral aspect there, so that's not really present. What I'm getting off of the lid, mostly the same, not a lot of difference there. Sometimes you can get variations between what you detect on the lid and what you get from the actual leaf. Just, I would say, fairly lighter on that aspect. But looking at these leaves now, pull out a few just for a second here. There's a leaf that hasn't fully unfurled, which bodes well that subsequent steepings will have flavor, aroma, oils from the tea leaves still present to release. Okay, leaf sets here. We've got 1, 2, 3 leaves, and there's actually a tiny little bud in there, so that's a nice representative there. Put him in on the lid. What else do we have? Looking at stems here for just a second. Pull out a few. These stems look like they are ragged edges, which suggests that these were plucked rather than using scissors or some kind of machine for cutting, slicing these. That's a positive note. A nice tear is usually preferred over a clean cut. Okay, and when you get that, when you get a tear, a pluck, that means there's less oxidation and browning happening on that stem there, which suggests that there is less of that contributing or that's affecting flavor. You're getting flavor from other aspects. The leaf itself, this one's got a little bit of thickness, is a little bit more mature leaf. Let me pull out some of these others that were, I would say, more on par with the overall leaf selection in this particular cup. This one's fairly fragile, pretty thin, delicate, so that's good. I'm looking at the edges here. You don't see a lot of evidence of a lot of oxidation. This one did not get a lot of discoloration, a lot of browning on the edges. So that means it wasn't. Well, now this one does have a little bit more of the browning on the edge, a little bit blotches here and there just along that very ragged edge where the jagged teeth of the edge of the leaf. There's a little bit of oxidation taking place there. This one as well. Okay, so I'm actually going to take that one out, put it back and replace it with this one, because there is a little bit of oxidation here and there on the jagged tips, on the jagged edges of these leaves. Okay, so that just told us a little bit about how much oxidation actually took place. The answer is very little. You don't see a lot of scorch marks either, indicating that there was a off element in the firing process. Looking at this liquor, it's a nice rich, almost a honey type color. It's a deeper yellow gold type color. Still good clarity though. You see the particulates clearly through. You can see clearly through the liquor. More roasted notes now present than there were before, and so now you're picking up a little bit of a graham cracker type toasted aspect to it, baked aspect. Moving over a little bit towards a light honey aspect there as well. Generally, with a lot of oolongs, you can detect a little bit more or a little bit wider range of flavors and aromas as the tea cools. So you want to make sure you give it a chance to taste at different temperature levels. What hit me here was fairly light broth, and the broth was competing more so with the level of astringency, a dry feeling that's on the edges, outer edges, side edges of your tongue, and underneath your tongue. It's also on the insides of your cheeks as well. I'm gonna let this cool. Give it another shot though. The aroma, you're getting some of that kind of you're getting a little bit of that English laurel aspect there, so it does have a bit of a woody note there. A very light, faint watery honey type note there as well. Not a strong floral, but then again, you're not looking for a strong floral with the DongDing. It's missing, to me, it's missing a little bit of that honey, that graham cracker type component to it. The body is not quite as thick as some others that I've compared or that I've tasted recently. The aftertaste just is not building up the level of sweetness that's compared to some that I've tasted previously. So when I look at this tea as a whole, I would say this has got some good components to it. Overall, it's a good representative. It's a decent representative of a DongDing. It could go a little bit further in some of the honeyed sweetness that you can detect. It could go a little bit beyond and a more extended, sweeter aftertaste, building up more of that honeyed note in the aftertaste as well. So looking at this tea, I'd have to give this tea an 89. And so come back to Walker Tea Review, where you can check out this tea, other DongDings, give them a comparison, share your notes as well.